Welcome to the episode of Locked In. As you can see in the title above, this is going to be my super review of all of the current $600-ish gravel bikes that are currently on the market. Let's see which one is the smart buy for you. So let's get started with this review. In this review, I'm going to be comparing currently 3 bikes that are currently on the market in the $600 price range. That is going to be the Aventon Quixote, Poseidon X, and the State Bike Warhawk. Now, a brief overview of what I really think each of these bikes are and what they basically are is the Aventon Quixote, in my opinion, is basically on paper a all-steel gravel bike with gravel geometry with clearance for a 650B by 47, 48, as well as a 700 by 40, maybe 42, lowrider rack mounts, your standard bottle cages, and rear fender mounts. The Poseidon X is kind of the hybrid of the cyclocross and gravel bike. Cyclocross geometry, gravel bike mounts, internal cable routing, same tire clearance as the Aventon Quixote, but with added bottle bosses in the frame and on the down tube, and a aluminum frame with a carbon tapered fork. Lastly, the State Bike Warbird is the definite oddball in this group, but it retails for about $650 stock, and that's going to be an all chromoly steel single speed cyclocross bike with canty brakes compared to the disc brakes on the other models for those looking for fixed gear feels in the dirt. So now let's break down really in this video which bike I think is perfect for you. I'm going to be going over basically different scenarios of riders that I really feel these bikes tailor towards. If you want to watch more on the full review and breakdown of all the individual specs and differences on these bikes, please make sure to subscribe and check out all those videos on my channel. I have unboxings, first ride impressions, and full reviews for each of these models at this point. Now, let's start with the Aventon Quixote. That bike, again, retails for $600. It's all steel. And this bike, in my opinion, is definitely the most comfortable ride across the 3. Also has the most relaxed geometry of the 3. So this is going to be for someone who doesn't really care about weight and just wants a comfortable ride, a comfortable commuter, someone that can take on gravel rides because they're getting into it, and that is willing to sacrifice a few different options. The one sacrifice is, it is externally cabled, so you're not going to get that down tube bottle boss for an extra third bottle. With the chromoly frame, again, you are going to be sacrificing weight penalty because of that. And the Aventon, in my opinion, needs a few gearing option swaps to make it a true epic gravel bike. And we'll get into that later. Next, the Poseidon. I feel this is for the rider who's maybe had some experience or been riding fixed gear or road bikes and wants to just dip his or her toe into cyclocross or gravel. I think this really fits that rider. The only reason I say they might need some experience on the bike is because the geometry is definitely more cyclocross than it is gravel, meaning that it's a little bit more aggressive position. You're going to be a little bit lower on the bike, even in its taller position compared to the Aventon Quixote. You do get a little bit sportier of a ride, so you're going to feel a little bit more of the road vibration and gravel because of the aluminum frame. That can be remedied, obviously, by going a bigger tire, and that's going to be across the board. You can make any bike more comfortable with a bigger tire. And you do get basically all the mounts that are currently popular on the bike, minus the 2 top tube mounts for a top tube bolted down bag. So I think this is for a slightly experienced rider, only because of the geometry. I don't think if you're new and just want to get into gravel, it's a bad idea. Just understand that you're going to probably have to run that stem a lot higher and possibly flipped up to get a comfortable ride as you're getting into the sport. Lastly, the State Bike Warhawk is definitely a strange comparison since it's the only single speed bike in this comparison. Now, the Aventon and the Poseidon both have the same group set, slightly different gearing spec, but it's all Shimano Claris. With the State Bike, you're getting canties instead of disc brakes, and obviously you're not getting any gears. But I wanted to show you an option for people who just want simplicity in their life and want something that is super simple, that they can use as a great commuter, that'll have a way bigger tire clearance than their possible fixed gear or track bike or road bike. That's something that's a little more simple, so it's very low maintenance. So in the dirt, you're not going to have to worry about getting your gears gunked up and having the chain fall off because it's a single speed and it's simple. So that's why I wanted to compare it in this video with the other 2 bikes. Now let's get into the slight issues I have with each of the bikes to let you know initially what I think that you give up choosing that one over the other. The Aventon Quixote, one, it doesn't have that third bottle boss, which kind of sucks. I had an issue trying to install the cage on the seat tube bottle bosses. This is obviously could be remedied with some washers, but out of the box, I couldn't mount anything on a size medium. As well as this bike needs a little bit more adjustment as far as the brakes go than the other 2 bikes that I had, as well as it does have that tougher gearing that I think should be for an endurance road bike, I think if you were to buy this bike, you would definitely want to swap out to an 1134 rear cassette, basically making it a little bit easier for the least amount of money. But that's my opinion. Now, if your area is very flat and you really don't have any major hills, then that gearing is not going to be an issue for you. Now on to the Poseidon X. The main drawbacks to this, again, are it's not as comfortable of a ride as the Aventon because of the aluminum frame, and you are having, again, that sportier riding position compared to the Aventon. So it might, depending on where you are in your cycling journey, you might be a little more fatigued a little sooner on this bike if you ran same set of tires and same spec. But that being said, you do have quicker handling, so more technical riding, I think this would handle a little bit better. With the state bike, Warhawk, obviously you're giving up gearing, so you're gonna have to choose what gearing you're gonna have to run on this bike because you have one single speed. So that means that, one, you are giving up that versatility, but two, depending on what kind of rider you are, that might be something that you enjoy about riding single speed or fixed gear in general, and that you just want the more tire clearance and something that you can still take out on the weekends for cyclocross and go race a single speed category race. You lose obviously gear range and capability, but again, depending on your area and what you're using the bike for, that might not be a drawback. That might be an added feature. But you will probably have to buy a few different rear cog sizes because the gear ratio on that bike is set for cyclocross in my opinion. You spin out way too quick on the road unless it's massively hilly all the time. So in my opinion, which bike would I spend my hard-earned money on? Realistic for me, I'm gonna put myself in this scenario. If I only had $600-ish to spend and I wanted something that was very versatile, that could be my one bike to basically rule them all if I was on a really strict budget, I would probably get the Poseidon X. Here's the reason why. One, I don't mind the slightly more aggressive geometry. I'm okay as far as flexibility goes. But the main real thing for me is the platform I think is worthwhile of future upgrades and something you can grow with. In my perfect world, if I was going to keep that bike, which I might and be doing a build series on, I would do a budget one-by conversion on it just to simplify it for cyclocross, as well as I would run it in a 700C for cyclocross, and I would get a 650B wheel set with a 47-48C tire on it to make it more supple for the gravel days, to make it a little bit more comfortable because, again, it is an aluminum frame. It's naturally going to ride a little bit harsher than a carbon bike or a steel bike. After that, it would just be minor changes, saddle because I didn't get along with the Physique, caliper upgrade as well to something hydro-mechanical, so I get a little bit better braking and not having to spend a ton of money on hydraulic shift levers. And I think with all the extra mounts, this does make it a very versatile bike for bikepacking or short backpacking trips. So in my opinion, if you're willing and able to handle this slightly more sporty riding, aggressive riding position, this bike is going to give you the most features, the most tire clearance for the money, and most versatility. And I don't think it's a bike for $600 that's not worth investing into. Any bike that you buy, you can always add money into, but I always say you want to buy something that's a good platform and starter so that you're not wasting your money on something that's not worth upgrading. There's a lot of bikes on the market, in my opinion, that if you buy, it's not worth putting money into. You might as well save that for the next better version later down the line when you're ready to invest. I think this bike is worth putting some money into, not a ton, but some, to make it slightly better for the budget. I think realistically you could upgrade this thing pretty decently for still under $1,000 total if you were smart with your purchasing and maybe looked at some used parts to make this thing even cooler with even more range. So comment below if you guys have any other questions between these three bikes, or hey, maybe you disagree with me. That's fine too. Do you have an Aventon Quixote? Do you like it? I definitely like it for the ride quality, but features are features, and I'm a sucker for having mounts everywhere. But thank you for watching. If you like this review, please comment below and let me know what you think. Turn notifications on and subscribe to this channel. That definitely helps me. And so you can also see every bike review, vlog, DIY project, build series, and everything else I put on this channel going forward. And thanks for watching another episode of Locked In.
Let's get locked in today.